years later, when you think about it, or when we show in the film how the women are objectified, that you know, the uncomfortableness of the scenes when they have to turn around and show themselves to the judges.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I love the movie, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm so pleased that you like it.
Yes, it's like, oh my God, it's so important to talk about it, right? So, and since we're talking about misbehavior, and what was like important to have a move like this, like why this is the right moment?
I think it's really interesting to look back to 1970 now, because it's 50 years ago, and to see how far we've come from then, and then to see how far we've still got to go in terms of equality, not only gender equality, but diversity as well. And I think it's a good movie that feels quite relevant. Some of the themes that we explore in Misbehaviour are very much still relevant today. And I think it's interesting. We can look back and think, oh yeah, that was then, but actually those issues are often very, very relevant today, I think.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. And but when you got the script from Gabby and Rebecca, what got your attention on the story? Because the story we might know, you know, but what was like the click on the script that got your attention?
I think it's the fact that it wasn't just about one thing. It wasn't just about the feminists and the women's liberation. It was also about this amazing thing that happened that year in 1970, when the first Black woman ever won Miss World. So it seemed like a really, really interesting kind of combustion of ideas, and also of political protest. Because another fascinating fact for us was the fact that the woman who came second came from South Africa, and she was Miss Africa South, the first Black woman from South Africa ever to be allowed to enter, and she came second. So it was those two things, coupled with these amazing young women who decided to try and put women's liberation on the map in the most crazy and kind of wicked and irreverent way they possibly could. And those two things coming together, it meant that there was a lot of things that we could explore and discuss in that movie.
I'm from Brazil, so I remember watching Miss Universe, Miss World, Miss Brazil. And back then, like, it was like a huge. Nowadays, it's not as big as it was like back like 20, 30 years ago. I was little when I remember watching those, and how much that was like affect the woman over there. And do you remember watching those pageants?
I really do remember watching them. And also, me and my sisters used to play Miss World. We used to dress up in our swimming costumes and put towels in our, tuck them in and like cloaks, and strut around. And we had no idea really what the underlying kind of issues were about parading your body around. We just thought those ladies were like princesses on the telly, and we loved watching Miss World. I remember loving watching Miss World. My mum didn't like watching. My mum was a feminist. She didn't really like Miss World at all. She thought it was really demeaning to women, but we loved it. Yeah. It's only years later, when you think about it, or when we show in the film how the women are objectified, that you know, the uncomfortableness of the scenes when they have to turn around and show themselves to the judges. And Jennifer Hoston, who's brilliantly articulate about all this, she said that she felt very uncomfortable when they had to do that. And that's one of the things we've tried to show in the film, from a woman's point of view, what it was like to be on that stage and looked at like that.
Yeah, and there is a line on the movie that I like, and the Keira character said to Gugu character, "It's not about you, it's about around what happened around you. It's not you physically, or you because you're him." It's that for me is like, it's amazing, because it's about the whole situation, the whole measure to be perfect, to have the perfect face, the perfect body, the perfect whatever they want to do back then. And also their cast is amazing. It's like stellar casting. And how were you able like to bring them on board?
I think it's because they really responded to that story, and many of those actresses like Keira, Gugu and Jessie Buckley are quite political thinkers in their own right. They're very interested in social awareness and telling stories that are meaningful, and so it was wonderful that they wanted to come and be in this film, because it's an ensemble piece as well. It wasn't like there was one big star and they were all equal people telling this story. And I think they also loved the fact that it was a true story as well. I think they'd watched things that I'd done before in the past and liked what they saw. So quite often I make quite political, hard-hitting dramas, and they'd seen a program I'd done called Three Girls, which I think it was made for the BBC, but I think it's on Netflix that you can watch it, about the Rochdale grooming case. So they'd seen things like that. And you know, it's about making films with integrity, I think, for them.
Yeah, and I just want to mention about Mbatha-Raw, which Greg is amazing. It's fantastic. And also, I want to ask you, the research part was the challenge part for you?
Well, a lot of the research had been done by the writer Rebecca Frayne, and she set the whole thing off with Suzanne Mackie, who was a producer of The Crown. So a lot of research had been done, and then what I loved doing was talking to all the real women. So when I started on board, I spent a lot of time with all the Sally Alexander and Jo Robinson and all of the women from Grosvenor Avenue, and also spoke a lot to Jennifer Hoston and Pearl Jansen. And it was a very, very, very researched project. And with Bob Hope, we were just so lucky to get such a fine actor as Greg Kinnear to come along and portray him, and with Leslie Manville playing his wife, that was just a huge treat. And he was such good sport when he was having all the flower bombs chucked at him.
That's awesome. Well, Philippa, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and a lot of success. And I cannot wait for everybody to watch this movie, because I can teach a lot of things, like for this new generation that sometimes don't understand what happened on the 70s, that what every woman went through to get us to this point right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like this video, don't forget to comment, to like and subscribe to our channel right here.